Welcome to Something to Talk About, and this is my Brute of Bracken video. If you've not watched any of my A Song of Ice and Fire lore videos, that's what this is. All right, let's turn this music down and off. And yeah, that's it. That's me playing some royalty-free music to try to liven up my intro a little. Did it work? My name is Taco. Let's get these headphones off. They're pointless for me. I'm by myself. And this is one of my Song of Ice and Fire lore videos. Specifically, the Brute of Bracken, my first character during the Dunk and Egg era. And yeah, I'm pumped. So if you've never watched these before, I do them all in one take. No editing, a nice mixture of improv and also the script I'll be reading. And that's it. So hopefully they don't take too long. I tend to ramble. So let's just do it. Let's talk about the Brute of Bracken. Let's just jump right into it. If you've never watched these before, please like, subscribe. I'm building quite a lot of these little lesser known characters. So I'm trying to do a spotlight on some of the lesser known characters. And I just did one on my Muppet Tullies, and that's actually they will be in House of Dragon. This is my first characters that will actually be in shows. The Brute of Bracken will never be in a show, but he is really cool. And also it's going to give me a kind of an avenue to discuss the rivalry between Brackens and Blackwoods. By the way, I'm Team Blackwood. All right, let's talk about Otho Bracken. Sir Otho Bracken, known as the Brute of Bracken, was a knight of House Bracken during the reign of King Darren II and Ares the First. He was the second son of Lord Bracken of Stonehenge. It's really hard to look up pictures of Stonehenge because you just get the Stonehenge from our actual world. Thanks, George. Okay, so this guy's exactly what he seems. He's a big, huge axe wielding. By the way, do you like my art? I think I got it from an Assassin's Creed. It actually worked for him though. Big axe wielding brute of House Bracken. He's the second son, so he's essentially just a tourney knight. I don't know if he is if he was part of the first Blackfire Rebellion or not. That's not really brought up in the first Dunk and Egg book. It's a really weird thing where I do feel like a lot of the Blackfire stuff was thought up by George after the first book because it's not brought up at all in the book. I mean, the first Knight of the Seven Kingdoms book. So Dunk and Egg in the first book, even though it takes place during the reign of Darren II, the king who dealt with the Blackfire Rebellions from his bastard brother, legitimized bastard brother Blackfire, Daemon Blackfire. It's not brought up at all in the first book. And then in the second and third, they constantly bring up the Blackfire Rebellion. So I just don't know if George knew he was going to be doing them, because if you check out the first Dunk and Egg book, the Hedge Knight, it's just not brought up. It's not weird. So anyways, I don't know if he is part of the first Blackfire Rebellion or not. Or what side the Brackens fight for. I'm sure that's said somewhere. I'm assuming Blackfires. They always fight for the rebels. But let's talk about House Bracken. House Bracken of Stonehenge is an old house in the Riverlands. It is one of the main families sworn to House Tully of Riverwood. They're blazon their arms with a red stallion. That's weird. Upon a golden something, Echicon, that's what that shield shape is. Just say shield on brown. So yeah, it's just a good old red horse on gold on brown. The Bracken lands lie along the red fork of the Trident. They rule over wider domains and can field a much larger army than even House Tully. So that's interesting. So let's talk about the B&Bs. I think that's going to be the next thing I bring up. So this is one of the two huge bannermen of House Tully, right? One's Blackwoods, one's Brackens, and they always hate each other. They constantly fight. So let's get into the family feud at B versus B. So House Bracken has been feuding with House Blackwood for thousands of years. So remember, both of them are actually first houses of the first men. And of course, what was I thinking? Of course, Bracken fought for the Blackfires in the first Blackfire Rebellion because Bittersteel, one of the main proponents and main aggressors for the Blackfire Rebellion, is a Bracken bastard. It was Aegon IV and Blackwood, Betha, not Blackwood. Oh my God, I can't remember the Bracken her name, but anyways, he is a bastard of House Bracken, just like how Bloodraven is a bastard of House Blackwood. So their feud, the Blackwood Bracken feud, is like very prominent during the Blackfire Rebellion. So of course this house was involved in it. It just isn't talked about. So yeah, I even have it written here. Oh my God. House Bracken has feuded with Blackwood for thousands of years, famously choosing opposite sides in most wars such as Dance of Dragons, Blackfire Rebellion, and even the War of the Five Kings in the main books. Remember that little badass Blackwood in the show that killed that Bracken? That was awesome. That was awesome. I love the Blackwoods, and when I saw that and this little Blackwood's getting crap, and I'm like, ooh, that's a Bracken doing it. Oh, we gonna mess him up, and then he messed him up. I'm a House Blackwood all the way, but let's talk about Bracken. The Brute of Bracken. So the Brute versus the Blackwood. To further the family rivalry in 206 AC, during a tourney at King's Landing, Otho became known as the Brute of Bracken. This is when he got his nickname. After slaying Lord Quentin Blackwood, although he was just using a blunted long axe, he struck Lord Quentin so hard that he stove in his helmet and visor and the face beneath. So even though his axe was blunted, he hit the dude in his mask and it went and it caved in his face. So I do think that this is brought up in Dunk and Egg to kind of mirror the trial by combat, the Trial of Seven later on in the story, because a very important character in the story, gets his helmet caved in and dies that way. So I think this was kind of to bring that up a little bit. But yeah, so anyways, this Brute of Bracken killed a Blackwood during a melee, which I'm sure pissed a lot of people off. So during the tourney at Ashford Meadows, so that's actually where the Hedge Knight short story takes place, the first Dunk and Egg, Sir Otho participated in the tourney at Ashford Meadow in 209. So let's look. That's 3 years after he became known as the Brute of Bracken. So he participated in 209 AC when Sir Duncan the Tall searched for the seventh knight for his Trial of Seven. Otho rejected him like a jerk. So keep in mind, there's a Trial of Seven at the end of the story, and Sir Duncan the Tall, or just Dunk, I just call him Dunk, Dunk needed 7 people to back him. And it was really hard because he's just this lowly little hedge knight, and he was fighting against a prince. Prince Aerion Targaryen. Great name, by the way. Aerion? Okay. So when he was searching for people, everyone already knew about the Brute of Bracken. He's like kind of famous for being a heck of a fighter, and he turns him down. But I don't want to blame him. I guess it's hard to blame him too much, because fighting a prince in order to save a random hedge knight might not be a good career choice. And I know we're supposed to be like, no, he's defending the good, and he's a knight and he should defend the good. All that is true. But on the flip side, what if, he already killed the dude accidentally in a melee. What if he accidentally killed a prince? He would be killed. He would be murdered for it. It's hard to blame him. But yeah. And then, so this is after the tourney of Ashford Meadow, the Brute later in life. So Otho's older brother died in the Great Spring Sickness, which made Otho his father's new heir. And in 211 AC, Otho's father was slowly dying, and Septim Sefton, great name, predicted that the Blackwoods would never stomach the Brute of Bracken as their neighbor, insisting that it would mean war. Perhaps we will learn in the next Duncan Egg book where this leads or not. Yeah, so we don't actually know where this leads because we learn this in the third book, The Mystery Knight, that Otho's dad is sick. So that means that Otho, the guy who literally killed a Bracken named Quintins, who die all the time. Weird. It's Quentin Martell poke for my book readers out there. So thinking that a guy who literally murdered a Blackwood in a fight, which did he do it on purpose? Who knows? He still hit a dude in the face full swing enough to cave in his, like, that wasn't an oopsie. That was, he was trying to hit him that hard in that spot. He probably just didn't think it would kill him. Or maybe he thought it would kill him and he's like, hey, one less Blackwood, right? Bam! So, of course, having the Brute of Bracken as the Lord of Bracken would probably piss off, or Lord of Stonehenge would probably piss off a lot of the Blackwoods. So let's talk about the irony here, right? So almost every war, as I said, they fight against each other. Blackwoods, Brackens. But at the end of almost every war, a Blackwood has to marry a Bracken to have peace, right? Which means they've married each other a lot throughout thousands of years of history. So there's as much Bracken blood in every Blackwood as there is Blackwood blood in every Blackwood, if you can get what I'm saying. They are very much cousins. They're intermixed. They live in the same area, have mostly the same customs, except the Blackwoods, when the Andals came, did switch to the Faith of the Seven, or the Brackens switched to the Faith of the Seven. The Blackwoods stayed old gods, but they're still kind of First Men heritage, and they're very, they're very similar. They're neighbors. They're both Riverlanders who do so much. So it reminds me of like Interlopers, if you remember that short story, or even like Romeo and Juliet in these families that have constantly been feuding, the Capulets and Montagus, and you don't really know why anymore. One says, oh, they did this. They poisoned our tree. Yeah, but we poisoned the tree because they did this, so it's this pointless family rivalry when in reality they are more similar than different, right? They have different religion. That's kind of it, which I guess is big for people with religions. People who care about religions, I guess that's a big deal. But there you go. That is the Brute of Bracken. I'm interested. Hopefully, George actually writes a couple more Duncan Egg books so we actually know how it ends. But just a cool little, like, tiny little footmark. Is that a word? A little tiny blemish in the long feud of the Brackens and Blackwood is Otho Bracken, the Brute of Bracken. And there you go. That's your little tidbit today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please click like and subscribe. And if you have an idea of a character, lesser known character, if he's a POV or if he was in any of the main shows prominently, I don't want to cover him. But if you have any lesser known characters that you want me to cover, ask. I might do it. But yeah, there you go. Thanks. And you guys have a good one. There's going to be some pictures coming up on the screen of some of my past videos, my A Song of Ice and Fire, Everyday Song of Ice and Fire Monsters Pokemon type, and then just a couple of the other characters I've covered. So there you go. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Yeah, weekend.